Freedom fighters, I'm coming back at you with another one. Happy Insurrection Day. Well, I'm coming at you early Monday morning, and we'll probably have to cover that at another time. But for right now, we're going to do a weekly wrap up. And, a weekly wrap up on Monday, how's that possible? Well, last Friday's episode was a montage of past projects and stuff. Kind of do a little New Year's thing. So I'm kind of late on the weekly wrap up. So we're just going to start it up today. And, I'm sure Friday we'll have a bunch more new stuff to talk about. But, we got a bunch of stuff to talk about right now. So let's get into it. But, there's a lot of stuff I was trying to get to. I've been kind of skipping on a lot of the content, really. So let's see what's on the docket for today. I mean, I wanted to talk about Nick from America First and his whole ordeal. I've been meaning to talk about that for a while. I'll actually just set that to the back buffer. I'll get back to that, but there's lots of conspiracies going around, lots of psyops, and I guess that's the newest thing right now. The biggest thing being talked about is these New Year's attackers. And, the New Orleans guy was pretty straightforward. So reports that he got radicalized and stuff like that. People were like, yeah, there wasn't really any, leaning or, they didn't see it coming. But, there definitely is reports, and that's what seems to happen. But the Trump Tower Cybertruck guy, his story is a lot more amusing, to say the least, and very questionable. But, he came out and he was leaking to media about, World War III and alien tech, and all this stuff. And, the short story of it, they want you to believe this highly trained, top of his class, 20-year vet in the Great Green Beret, all this stuff filled up a Cybertruck with gasoline and fireworks, right? And that's like the most amateur, ish that you can get, right? Like, I can do better than that. Most people know how to, make better boom devices than that. We'll just say it like that, but you know what I'm talking about. So clearly he knew how to, and people were saying that, casualties wasn't his agenda here. He was just trying to send a message and stuff like that. But, yeah, so anyway, you've probably heard the big news already. You probably saw the podcast. But this guy, I forget his name, maybe Shoe Man? Or I know his account on, I think X was like Shoe Guy or something. I can't even remember. I feel like his name was Sam. But anyway, you can find it on the Sean Ryan podcast, which, by the way, has had, they always have great guests, great content. But in the last couple weeks, they've had some, people really breaking barriers and making some predictions that have come forward. And then he got this big interview with this guy. So it's definitely, leading the media space and the information. But, yeah, I mean, he was on there. They were talking about all the conspiracies and, the stuff going on. And it turns out that, this guy was on a TV show with Tim Kennedy. And we've talked about him plenty of times. So, we already know the deal. But, there's all kind of conspiracies here. What was the main thing? Mainly that, I can't remember if he rented the truck or if he actually bought the truck, but there was some, connections there. They were saying, maybe that they rented from the same place as the other guy, but I think that ended up getting washed away. I don't think that was correct information, which, by the way, the FBI has changed the story a couple times. And when they heard that, oh no, this guy's going on Sean Ryan and he's telling his part of the story and that he was in contact with this guy, then they kind of changed the story up to like, okay, this is how it was, where I think they were trying to connect him and the New Orleans guy, where there doesn't appear to be any. Like I said, that guy actually seemed to be radicalized. He had the Islamic flag in his vehicle and stuff like that. Where this guy, he got this truck, and they said, his body was charred beyond recognition. And then they just happened to find his ID. One of those mysterious IDs that always show up. Just like the event where the planes hit on that September morning in 2001, where everything else was burned beyond recognition. They couldn't even find the black boxes for the airplanes, but all the passports just somehow seemed to be littered across New York City, and they found out the people who did it. So they're like, we don't know who the body is in the vehicle, which, by the way, was shot with a 50 cal Desert Eagle. And I guess they said we can't recognize. Usually they pull teeth and do like bone structure realignment and stuff and that to like see who it was. But I guess they couldn't even get teeth or bones. I'm not sure, but apparently they did get a DNA reading, and they said it didn't match his son's DNA, which people have put forward and say maybe this was a reason why he snapped. And supposedly the wife came out and said that she filed for divorce like 6 days ago or 6 days before the event. And maybe that he found out, and supposedly the wife was posting some anti-Trump stuff, and him being a Trump supporter, and supposedly staunch American patriot, military veteran, all this stuff. The clash wasn't working out, and then he found out his son wasn't his, and maybe this sent him off the deep end. That's the story they're going with. But it's very suspicious. Like I said, a highly trained, top of the line veteran who's out here doing stuff with Tim Kennedy and everything. And oh yeah, I think I forgot to mention, the connections with the two that were actually in Fort Bragg, which so was the other guy in the Sean Ryan podcast, who openly admits, he's an intelligence officer. So again, like, this dude, I don't think anyone has come at it through this perspective. He even hinted at it in his podcast. Like, oh, now people are going to say we're connected and, we came through Fort Bragg and all this stuff. He could very well be this dude's handler. Let's not forget what Fort Bragg is about. It is the PSYOP capital. It is literally the center of the intelligence world and the military, and they focus and their expertise is in psyops, which you look into I think it was the Smith-Mundt Act or Project Mockingbird. I can't remember which one it is, but they legalized propaganda. They said they're openly allowed to hit the public, the citizenry, with psyops. And they got all these, drone stuff going around and all these stories. And then, you got this stuff, people attacking that CIA officer, the lady that was on Sean Ryan like a couple weeks ago before this, was saying, oh yeah, people are getting ready to attack. There's 1,000 sleeper cells. To me, it almost sounds like they're planting the info to get you, ready, prepared for, what's coming down the pipe. They know, and most of the time they know what's coming because they're planning to do it. So again, This guy was in contact. He said he was headed to Mexico and all this stuff. Is it possible they intercepted him and, popped him with a 50 cal? Even though that's not your normal, duty weapon. But, they could have popped him and, threw him in there and threw him in a self-driving Tesla and then went ahead and did that to make it look like something else. I mean, who knows, man? Um, it's all a big conspiracy. I guess I wanted your guys' opinion on that. Figure, what kind of angle um, you guys were thinking about. But I really don't consider myself one of these extreme extremist conspiracy guys. What I cover is news, and I'm based in reality, you know, and mainly politics and stuff like that. My last video was a little off the cuff, not the New Year's one, but the UFO thing, because I was just basically documenting my experience, and that's the current thing in the news. So I was like, that's pretty crazy, but I'm not really this UFO guy. Even though I'm totally into it. I like the movies and the shows. I was big into X-Files and Roswell growing up. Those were great shows. I watched Fringe, which really wasn't aliens. That was like a parallel universe. But I love all the space movies. Interstellar. Day After Tomorrow, War of the Worlds, all these alien movies. What was the other one? Battlefield Los Angeles, a whole bunch of them. And then I watch, the shows and stuff like that, but I don't really spend a lot of my time, digging into the UFO world and stuff like that. And, I have friends who are like really into these fringe conspiracy theories, and while I may be into them and I look into them here and there, it's just not my main focus. I'm like, at the end of the day, none of this stuff really affects me, so why am I going to spend a lot of time on it? Where in the politics and what, these politicians are doing, the tyranny that literally faces me every day, does affect me. But, I got friends who are big into like the flat earth and, all this other stuff. Aliens are frozen under Antarctica, bro, and, this and that. And I got a friend who's big into Bigfoot. And he's always like, taking trips and stuff. And he's like, oh, I'm going with a group, that we're on his trail and we're going to Colorado and, we're going to hunt the skunk ape. And I'm like, bro, like, you could use that money in, such better ways. And it's like, what do you really think you're coming home with, like, Bigfoot proof or, like, anything? And I'm like, in nothing, if a Bigfoot is really out there, it doesn't affect me. I mean, obviously, a lot of people go out missing in parks and stuff like that. And if Bigfoot is out there eating people in the woods, but that's why I'm pretty, travel with groups and well equipped. But who knows if we could take on a Bigfoot anyway. But I've been out in the woods quite a bit, spent a lot of time out there, and I'm least worried about that. I'm more worried about the tyranny, like I said, that faces us every day, and the possibility of, coming face to face with a redcoat and, having to take action against that. But that's, pretty much all we'll say for that. But, let me know what you guys think of all this stuff, and, lots of conspiracy theories. That's probably what this episode will be called. We're going deep in the rabbit hole today with this one, going into the, the conspiracies on all this stuff. But yeah, man, we'll see what happens and end up today. Who knows what's really going down. I'm hearing all this stuff. Oh, they're not going to allow him to get inaugurated. And, pull the Jamie Raskin um, insurrection clause or something they were talking about. Well, we'll see. See how that goes. But man, until the next one, you know what it is. We are on our own. Get right with God, because only God can save you. Freedom Fighters out.